Welcome to a Knowledge Math production. Today we're going to be talking about rounding and estimation. One of our first lessons here, going back a long time ago to remind everybody about rounding and estimation. So let's take a look. Let's go back and remember some of this stuff that we've talked about or that you've talked about maybe a very long time ago. So rounding is reducing the digits in a number to a certain place value. Okay? So it's not very accurate, but it's easier to do calculation. It makes it easy to do some calculations with it. Whole numbers can be rounded to the nearest 10, the 100, or the thousands. Okay? So if you add a number like, let's say, 4,372, you could round that to 4,370. You could round it to 4,400. You could round it to 4,000. Okay, all depending on what they're asking you to round to, as well as what might make it easier to do some calculation. An estimation is an approximate figure or estimation of a final answer. Okay, you round each number in the calculation to an indicated place, nearest 100, nearest 1,000, and then when you estimate, all the numbers need to be rounded to the same level. So if I wanted you to take 4,372 and add 8,456, and I want to round my answer to the thousandths, well, then I'd round the 4,372 to 4,000, and the 4,000 or the 8,456 to 8,000. And then add those two numbers together. Okay? So rounding is a way of simplifying numbers, making them look a little easier. And estimation is a way to simplify some calculations. All right. So now let's take a look at some rounding. Here's how we round numbers. We have to remember how to do that. Okay, so we have some very sophisticated information up here. We write a number in our place value system. Digits to the left are more significant or more important than those to the right. To round a number, we decide the last place that we're going to keep. Okay, and then that's your rounding place. So this is the number we're going to keep. Keep these before the rounding place. This is the number that potentially could change. And then we use that next place right after it to the right to decide how to round this place. Now, if you remember, if this place, this number is a number less than 5, we keep this number the same. If this number is 5 or more, we round this number up to the next number. Okay? So again, same idea. If this number here that we're going to use to round is from 0 to 4, we keep this number the same. If this number here is from 5 to 9, we're going to round this number up to the next number. And these are your place values. So these are things you should really know off the top of your head. Okay, all of these are place values. You don't have to know the abbreviations necessarily, but you do need to know how to round. If I say, hey, I want you to round to the nearest thousands, okay, or round to the nearest 10, or round to the nearest 10,000th. Well, which place are you going to stop your number at? You need to know. So you have to know all the names of all of these places because it depends on what I ask you where I want you to round to. All right. If you don't know the name of it, how are you going to know where to stop the number? Okay. So that's important. All right. So you buy a new riding lawnmower for exactly $3,184.29. Certainly a possible number with tax and all that stuff added on. Your neighbor asks how much you spent, and you want to round your answer to the nearest $1,000. What is this number round to the nearest 1,000? So this is the thousands place. That's the place I want to round to. I'm going to use this place to round it. So there's a 1 here. This number is smaller than 5. That keeps this number the same. So this number to the nearest 1,000 is $3,000. Okay, and that's all there is to this, right? But again, if you don't know where the 1,000 place is, how are you going to round to the thousands place? All right, now suppose you wanted to buy 5 of these mowers. Okay, what is the estimated cost of 5 lawnmowers? Well, each lawnmower costs $3,000, and I want to buy 5 of them. So I'm going to take 3,000 and multiply by 5. Okay, so now there's a couple ways to multiply numbers that end in, well, one of the numbers ends in zeros. One of them, I can just literally multiply all the numbers. So 0 times 5 is 0. 0 times 5 is 0. 0 times 5 is 0. 3 times 5 is 15. So the answer is 15,000. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is I can pretend that the zeros are not there, multiply 3 times 5, get 15, and then add the 3 zeros on. Both of them will work, but again, this will only work if there's no decimal here. If there's a decimal place, then all bets are off and things are a little bit different. We'll talk about multiplying decimals as we go along. So my answer here is $15,000. It's about how much it would cost me. Okay, now we want to round the number 4,738 to the hundredths place. So we got to find the hundreds place. So we have ones, tens, hundreds. Here's my hundreds place. I'm going to use this 3 to round that 7. The 3 keeps the 7 the same. So that's 4,700. And then 4,738 to the thousands place. So here's my thousands place. I'm going to use that 7 to round the 4. It rounds it up to a 5. So that makes 5,000. So there's my answer for those two. All right, now let's take the number 92.67381 and round it to the nearest thousandths place. So where's the thousandths place? So this is the tenths place, hundredths, thousandths. This is the thousandths place. This 8 is going to round the 3 up. So it's going to become 92.674. And now I don't need to add the zeros at the end, right? Okay, I don't need to add them there. That would be my answer. If we round 429.5 to the nearest whole number, this 0.5 rounds the 9 to a 0. And then the 0, well, it rounds it to a 10. And then I can carry 1 over to the 2. And it would make 430. And that should, of course, make sense. If you're at 429.5 and you round this number up, it gets rounded up to 430, right? That's the next number in the sequence. So that would be my answer. And finally, you want to buy 12 copies of a book that costs $18.76, and you want to know about how much the total will be. So we want to round our answer. Okay, so there's a couple of ways that we can go about rounding your answer. There's a couple of ways that we can do this. We want to take 12 copies that cost $18.76. So 1876. So I could round 1876 to 19, but then I'm going to have to do 19 times 12, and I don't know if I'm particularly interested in that. I would rather do 20 times 12. I'm rounding my answer. Okay, so I'm going to do 20 times 12 instead. All right, so we'd have 20 times 12. I'm going to drop this 0 off here. 2 times 2 is 4, and 1 times 2 is 2. That's $240. Okay, that's my approximate cost. Now, you could have done 19 times 12. It would have given you a much better estimate as to the actual amount that it would cost you. But 19 times 12 is a lot more difficult to multiply than 20 times 12. So that's why I went with 20 instead of 19. Okay, and that's it for rounding and estimation. And as always, thanks for clicking.